This week, I use a busty Japanese schoolgirl as a tripod.
And I keep my finger on the censor button because...
We're f***ing back!
Baka!
Hi, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Garrett, and we watch anime.
Garrett, this week is a special show. All I gotta say for what we're taking on this week is, whoa. We are going to be diving in Olympic swimming pool's worth of fan service. If you don't like panties, if you don't like breast jiggling, frankly, this is the week to sit out. We are discussing the Ecchi, Harem, zombie horror thriller High School of the Dead. Knowing the weight of anime breasts are quite heavy, we've sought more support this week from our podcast daddies at the John and Kevin's Big Stupid Podcast. So, Garrett, before we introduce them, give us a 1 to 2 sentence explainer of what we're getting into this week.
This anime was actually part of a thesis at Tokyo University studying the physics behind breast jiggles.
That's correct. In fact, how it interacts with bullets, how it interacts with the cocking of shotguns and all that stuff. And I think we learned a lot this week. But first, let's introduce our guests. Again, we're bringing in John and Kevin from John and Kevin's Big Stupid Podcast. What's up, guys?
Yeah, let's go.
Guys.
So I know we had you guys for Kakegurui, and I just want to know, give us an idea of, for those who haven't watched that episode, what's your show all about in a very quick explainer.
John, you want to take this?
Nah, you got this, man. It's a show mainly about Kevin. I just kind of sit there and listen.
I pepper John in every once in a while.
It's like a little Salt Bay of John there.
It's basically it's about me and John. We talk about ourselves. We talk about our families. We talked about how growing up, and then we try to do different things. Mm-hmm. We do interviews and we have game shows like the dating game,
So really fun episode.
We try to do a little bit of a variety, but for the most part, it's John and I talking about ourselves growing up with each other because we've been friends since we're 7, and again, how we're broken men because we're married.
The trials and tribulations of 2 relatable dudes from New Jersey.
And the swearing that comes along with it, which I know I'm going to have a good time editing this week again.
Well, I told you, Kyle, this week I'm going to try and reel the in, okay?
Correct. Well, that's good. I'll just make sure I put a marker right there. Okay, so we are starting with explaining this show for this.
He's got a pen ready. He's got a pen ready for the time. He's got the stopwatch going, man. He's ready for the show today.
Yeah. Once again, we are tackling...
He had a nightmare last time.
So this week we are tackling the weird, ecchi horror high school manga from 2006-2013, High School of the Dead. The anime happened in 2010, and it shows because I think that subtitles kind of gave it away. If you saw it, they were weirdly yellow and old looking. So this is an older show, about a decade's old. The show in my mind is very surface level, but weirdly succeeds as a zombie title. So once again, if all that aside, I was to once again jump in front of you guys on the street, and I said, "What's High School of the Dead about?" Garrett, what would be your quick sentence answer of what High School of the Dead is about?
You follow a group of busty teenagers and who will seem to inevitably will be fighting over the 2 boys that they're traveling with during a zombie apocalypse as the world collapses around them.
We have time for a harem during a zombie apocalypse. I think that's really interesting. Kevin, what if I was to jump in front of you? High School of the Dead, what's the show about?
The Walking Dead meets high school meets sorority house massacre.
I love it. And John, if I was to jump in front of you and said, "Hey, what is High School of the Dead about?" What would you say the show is about?
Zombie apocalypse and college rules.
Yes, that's right.
That's exactly what it is. College rules.
I love
so, obviously a little porn reference there, but...
You have to say it under your breath because I don't know about you gentlemen. I don't know about you gentlemen, but I know that for me, I had to time when my wife was taking her baths or doing her own thing upstairs to sneak in to watch this show because it is hard to watch with others It's like watching porn with other people. So I don't know if you all had that same feeling. What did you guys?
This afternoon, I was sitting on the couch plowing through some episodes, and my wife was napping on the couch with her feet across me, and like the shower episode came on, and I just kept like eyeballing her to the side and going, "Don't wake up, don't wake up, whatever you do, don't wake up."
I actually was watching it yesterday, and my wife was on the couch, and I'm watching it, and it was the scene where they're driving in the Jeep or whatever, and they hit like a pothole, and her boobs just bounced all around in 9,000 different directions.
Yes, the boob physics is good.
I actually stopped it, rewound it, and I go, babe, watch it.
That is a long, healthy marriage. I can tell you that right now. And yeah, we're gonna have to give space to the boob physics, I'm sure, at some point. John, what did you watch this openly like Kevin did, or Garrett? Did you have to like sneak it in?
No, I watch it open. You know, usually when I'm watching something, I watch it by myself, so no one's really around.
Uh-huh.
And it just seemed like it started out like kind of normal, and then all of a sudden it just got bizarre. Like today, like there was like they had that Hummer, and they got like jacked up against the fence, and then like they're just firing bullets, and the one girl with the wooden katana, it like the bullets were flying in between her breasts and through her crotch, and I'm like, what is going? I was like, this is getting just bizarre. I was like, it went from like 0 to like 1,000,000 with the sex. I was just like, what is going on?
It is very like 0 to 60 with the fan service on this show. And one thing that I'm going to do, the way I'm going to set how this episode is going to go for us today, is that first we're going to talk through the harem. Who are the characters? What are their deals? And then we're going to kind of talk through these moments that really made you go like WTF. And then we're going to do what everybody and their mother is doing nowadays, which is a tier list. And we're going to put each moment in to see which one is more or less ridiculous based on what your thoughts were watching them. So when you bring up something that's really WTF in terms of the fan service, we're going to save it. And then we're going to talk about it later and rank it as which one's the more ecchi stuff. But let's talk. Yeah, what was that, Kevin?
I said we're going to put a pin in it.
Yes, we're going to put a pin in it, and then it's going to jiggle 17 times before finally settling, independent from one another. So, guys, let's discuss this, because when I say it's a harem, once again, this is a harem anime. And what that means is that there's usually one or two guys surrounded by a crap ton of very hot, well-formed women. Girls in this show. And so this show, we're going to discuss who these characters are. So I want each person to kind of like bring up each character, and we'll kind of discuss who they are and what their deal is. We're going to start with the boring one, Komuro Takashi, the protagonist. He's got protagonist hair. He wears protagonist clothes. He's boring like a protagonist. So we're just going to kind of float over him. So let's start with Rei Miyamoto, the redheaded girlfriend who is pretty much useless in my mind, save for her ability to use a spear. What is everybody's thoughts on Rei Miyamoto? Garrett, do you want to start it?
She is she's a difficult personality.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Rei was dating Komura's best friend, and Komura always had a crush on her, and the best friend / boyfriend is one of the first bitten, and Komura's got to end him. So it doesn't like set the dynamic of their relationship off to a good start when he had to bash her boyfriend's brains in, you know? Even though he asked for it, even though he said, "Kill me while I have the last of my humanity."
They're like, nope.
It'd still be hard to take a baseball bat to your noggin, Kyle.
Yeah.
As he just vomits blood everywhere.
Yeah, seriously.
But she's a total see you next Tuesday at times to him.
Yeah.
And at one point, she sort of says to herself, like, I should really stop being so hard on him,
Or like, I maybe like, after the 400th time you almost got bitten by a zombie, you might want to cut the guy a break, like, and not be like, you're not like Hirashi or whatever his name was. She's like, I'm never gonna be like him. I beat his head in with a bat. Like, shut up, lady. The guy's dead. Move on. So John and Kevin, what were your thoughts on the kind of primary heroine that we meet in the show, Rei?
Well, they actually dated once before.
I think so. And then she
because when they're on the steps on the winding staircase.
Yes.
And he's like, I I guess that's why you dumped me. Like, we're like, oh, okay, so you dated before. All right, so now
There's history.
here's that backstory.
But she like skipped a grade to be with the other guy. Or she went back a grade, right? Isn't like she like
Yeah,
stayed?
because he was a dum-dum.
Which is so weird to me.
So yeah, like, and then she starts like coming on to him.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. And then he was like getting into it, and then he was like, wait, no, I can't. And again, is Japan really hot? Well, I always picture Japan to be like, I don't know, kind of rainy, I guess. I don't know. But it's like sweating. They're all sweating. They were
I can tell you from living there.
drenched.
They don't believe in air conditioning or heating. So you will freeze your nards off, and you will be sweaty a lot just by the fact that they just don't believe in using those machines. So you know what, John? How about you?
That's why they have the fans. Okay.
Yes, correct. They don't believe in air conditioning. That's really weird. So John, how about you touch upon the next woman we meet, which is Saya Takagi, who is the pink pigtails, what we call it tsundere, which is she's like kind of the mean one with the kind of multiple snaggletooths, and so she's like the smart one. She wears glasses later. What's her deal, John?
All right, so I originally just pictured her as like a complete like she's just a complete and it's like she's like that like she seems like a rich kid that got everything she wanted, you know, and then like she's just like a spoiled brat,
right?
And like she's just like it's hard to explain, but like she's just like I kind of like her, you know, but like I don't want to. But she seems like she could be somewhat of a leader.
Right. She's very
smart. What I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's smart, and she always says how smart she is.
And she calls other people stupid multiple times. Like, she's like, you're a stupid, who stupidly does stupid things, you stupid. And you're like, okay, lady, we get it.
Yeah.
You don't like the guy.
Well, that's the thing. She uses that, and then it's kind of like, all right, she's smart.
Right.
And I think she's going to be useful.
Right.
You know, as the show goes on, but like you could tell, like she's very bossy to the point where like she's like telling people what to do. She's like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you know, and it's just like, all right, especially with the teacher, she's dumb. Right.
Okay, we have to get to the teacher too. Oh man, she's wild. But Garrett, we were refer to her as a tsundere. Give us a very quick synopsis of what that means for everybody, just so we can.
Who's that?
Takagi, the snaggletooth character that's kind of mean. She goes humph all the time. Like, if I was to tell you she's a tsundere, what would that mean?
Crispy exterior, soft, creamy inside.
That's correct. Yeah, that's like the classic, like, I'm the mean, you know, cantankerous shrew that you don't really like, but like kind of like likes you. And then like the whole idea is to get her to be lovey-dovey.
Right. And so
John said, like, you don't want to like her, but then you eventually do. It's like
so there's another character who's a bit of a dork that we won't discuss until we want to bring him into it, but he's clearly in love with Takagi. And she's just like, don't even talk to me, you otaku. You know, like,
that guy is a creep.
Oh yeah, I was wondering where that sentence was going. I was like,
"Wow, that guy
okay,
is
that makes sense." Yes, he's like,
if we're talking about the same guy,
we're talking about Kota Hirano.
No, we're talking about Kota Hirano.
Yeah,
I like him.
Oh no, you're thinking of the other. You're thinking of the teacher creeper who is
Mr.
Shido
Shido.
Sensei,
the guy with the glasses, the guy with the guns and the glasses.
Yeah. Oh no, that's Kota Hirano. Yeah, that's Kota. Yeah, he's the gun fanatic.
Yeah,
because the real creeper,
he's awesome.
In like episodes 2, 3, and 4, is Mr. Shido, who's like the teacher who wants to start a cult.
Who couldn't be more like, I'm the villain. I make my hands into tents, and like you could just see him like calling the thunder to be like raining down as he speaks, and he's like clearly fondling the girls as he's trying to get him into the cult. He's like, "Hi, girls, let me give you a massage." Like he's a Me Too moment waiting to happen in the.
He's like, "Have you heard of Nexium? I'd like to talk to you about it."
He's like Slender Man. Like
yes, he is. He's Slender Man and with glasses. So let's go to the next girl, whose name is Sayako Busujima. She is.
Full stop.
Yeah.
Seiko's where it's at.
Right? She's your favorite so far?
Yes.
Hands down.
Hands down. She has gymnastic breasts, which, as John alluded to, can evade bullets, and she's just a badass. She's what we would call a kudere, which is she just nothing phases her. Like, am I naked in an apron?
And she
faze
cooks
me.
in a nude. Love it.
But she also does those like amazing things, like when she's naked in the apron and she's clearly flirting with the guy, but the other girl in the apartment starts like moaning and calling for him, and she's like, "It's okay, go tend to her needs," and you're like, "Oh, weird."
While she's in an apron. She's awesome. She's very capable. She's like the secondary, like on top of Kota, is like the person that you would expect to actually do damage in a zombie fight. And then I have to bring up, because and I think I wanted to leave this space for myself to talk about Shizuka Marikawa, the nurse, who I like to call Nurse Boing Boing. And I hope that we call her that the rest of this episode, because there's no way all these women are busty. All of them. Their breasts bounce like crazy. But she is the only one whose breasts actually make noise when they bounce.
Oh, that's like that's right. She's a nurse, not the teacher.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yes.
Right, like how like Mario when he
Dude,
walks,
she's
like,
ridiculous.
It's like that. It's like Mario walks and goes. Boing, 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 boing. Her breasts do that when she jiggles. It's like boing, 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 boing. Like she's just like so. I know her name is actually Shizuka Marikawa Sensei. She's a nurse, or actually she's a doctor working at a school.
They call it doctor.
But I'm going to call her Nurse Boing Boing for the rest of the show because
Got it.
she was the most ridiculous character out of a series of too many ridiculous characters. And then finally, we talked about Kota Hirano, who is the fat guy nerd who just really loves guns, and he's capable.
He's played a lot of Call of Duty in his life.
He has, and apparently, like everyone he knows has been very capable. It's like my grandpa was a poet, and my grandma was like an ex-marine, and like knows everything about everything.
And he gets a lot of nosebleeds.
He does get a lot of nosebleeds.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're not.
That, like when they, I know I'm not. When they met that little girl, he was like into her, and I'm like, ew. I was like, this has got to.
I don't think he was.
I don't
like,
think so either.
But the look in his eye, he was like, oh,
There is, John, you're not wrong in that they're sniffing at the edges of the lolly stuff, but I don't think they'll actually go there.
I don't think they'll go there, but the fact that they inferred it, I was like, what is this guy doing?
She did land on his lap very suggestively when she ran.
But it doesn't matter. She's a little kid.
Yes, I know.
I know.
This is not me. Please, everybody listening, I'm not saying because she asked for it or anything like that. I'm saying the show insinuated that this moment caused unrequested erotic moment for the show. So, yes.
They were singing Row, Row Your Boat.
Yes.
I mean, it was all very innocent.
So yes,
and then all of a sudden she lands in his lap.
Yes,
on his crotch.
Yes, correct. So now that we have a sense of who our cadre is, who our collective group is, let's run through the shows a little bit. We don't have to go too crazy into stuff because there's a middle part which was just like good. I honestly think is good zombie movie stuff, but the first episode kind of blew my mind for several reasons. So let's talk about, what did you think when you first saw the show? It was in high school. Go, Garrett.
Okay. It was in high school. Go ahead.
Kind of felt like My Chemical Romance wrote the intro song.
That's true. Yes, it was very much that. Yes, it was very like there's a lot of that. So
obviously, the zombie genre has been super popular. Well, zombie has always been popular in horror as a subset of horror, but in particular over the past 10 to 15 years, whether it be the aforementioned by Kevin Walking Dead, whether it be World War Z, both the book as well as the movie, there has been continued interest in zombie over the past 15 years. This probably hit right around like the zeitgeist of it, like 2010, at like, which is when the anime came out. As Kyle mentioned, the manga's 06 to 13. And so it's not new to any of us. But this is the second time I've gone through this show. The first time I went through it was, I'm going to call it 6 years ago, when Kyle and I were living together. And I found it entertaining. We laughed at all the ecchi moments. But in the current climate that we are currently in with the pandemic, to watch this show, which discusses, these moments of panic and what would you do and how would you escape, I know that you described it as being very surface level, but a lot of it actually caught me a little bit heavier this time through.
Right. I think episodes like 3 to 5, I would call like the good zombie Walking Dead version part of the show. Like, it was very good, like showing what a zombie apocalypse was. The first 2 really set up that this guy who like no one cares about, he's kind of a dummy, is going to collect all these women at high school and we're going to run out with them, essentially. So
you got the feeling that Kimura was a dummy?
I would say that his thing is that he's very mopey and unimpressive is the word I would use. And they always set that up with protagonists because you want that underdog story. Like, he's the underdog who somehow stumbled on all these hot chicks, and now he's going on this adventure with them.
Because they trust him because he's unassuming.
Yes, it's basically unassuming. His hair is very unassuming. His clothes are very unassuming. Like, he's like a vanilla. He's like a blanket that covers the show. The women are really the star of the shows. But what really caught my eye is he's one of the first people to notice the zombie. And the first thing that really annoys me about this show is that most people get like really close to the person and are like, "What's wrong with you?" before they finally get bit, and that really pisses me off. Like, the teacher's like, "What's wrong with you, coach?" And the coach is like, like right next to her neck, and it's like, you might want to back up a little bit. No matter, like, if I knew Garrett my entire life and I just saw him charging at me going like, I don't care if he's like a zombie or high or on bath salts, I'm getting the hell out of there. Like, I don't need to ask his questions like what he's up to. So, but the second thing that annoyed me, I don't know if you guys remembered this, he saw this transpiring, that zombies are killing the people in the school, and he goes to get Ray first. And Ray is like, "Hey, creeper, why are you coming into my classroom?" He goes, "We got to get out of here." And she goes, "No." And he just straight up smacks her right across the face in the middle of class. And I was like, whoa, when I saw that part. Did anybody get that same sentiment when I did?
It's like, get it together. You're coming with me.
Because imagine you're in class, and all of a sudden the guy's just like, "We got to go." And the girl's like, "No." He's like, "Oh." It's just like, whoa. I was so like, what the hell is happening, guys? So, yeah, like, Kevin and John, walk us through what you saw in the first episode. What did you take away from, like, the school carnage that you saw in those episodes?
All right, so what I would say was, like, it's, like you said, it's a basic zombie apocalypse thing. And I love the whole zombie apocalypse, genre thing. I absolutely love it. So as I'm watching the show, I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. I'm like, I like the story. I like where it's going. I like, I actually got into, because we talked about doing the show originally, and like, I was like, I'm just going to start watching it. I just started watching it on my own. So I'm like, I like it. And I'm like, it's cool. Like,
John, do you find it weird when you find yourself sexually aroused by a cartoon?
No, because in the beginning, it wasn't like that.
No.
It got to like, maybe like the fourth, like there were some aspects of it, little panty shots or whatever, but then it got like, after like the fourth or fifth episode, it was like all bets were off, and I'm like, what is going on? When they're in the apartment, right, and they were all like showering together, or they were like changing together, I'm like, what is going on?
We're gonna have to give that episode 6 a real breakdown,
dude.
But
it was like,
yeah, I mean, it's wild, and I don't know about you guys, but like, the panty shots were like a little too much, especially with the fact like the girls that are like, "Tee-hee, we're gonna be friends forever. We're gonna get out," and they're like pinky swearing out the door, and they're so excited. And the one girl gets pulled off onto the stairs by the zombies, and then the friend's like, "Help me, we're friends forever." The friend's like, "Get the hell off me!" Kicks her off, and then as she's getting eaten, her legs are kicking, but her panties are fully shown to the world. And it's like,
So that was another thing I didn't understand. Was like, look, I get it. You've created this harem with these beautiful women, and you're going to show us them naked and their panty shots. Why must every zombie victim female die with the indignity of their panties being shown? Like, they're dead.
There's nothing more you can do this. Why do we have to be at the gooch cam angle when this woman is getting like her carotid artery pulled out of her neck? I'm like, what are we doing, guys? I don't understand. The part where there's like everything is getting eaten, save for her panty line down, her skirt is all the way up, and it's just like yellow panties. I'm like, oh god. I'm like, what is
like, do they not own like a pair of jeans? Like, it's like they have like an army of like girls with guns in basically like mini skirts and like those button shirts that you tie.
School.
What? And what?
That's their school uniform.
Yeah, it's their school uniform.
Oh, yeah. Everybody.
But
wears
here's
that
the
at
thing,
school.
and I will say to John's credit, when you watch episode 8, which we ended up going to, and we're not cutting ahead, but I'm just gonna like symbolize something, is when they get to the kind of the dam and they kind of cross it to get to the other side of the river, the nurse lady, Nurse Boing Boing, goes, "Hey guys, I have all these clothes that you should try on." And what do they put on? The same damn uniform that they were wearing in high school. What the hell?
Yeah,
I was like, what are you
They're
doing?
gonna be wearing like ninja assassin like clothes from her friend in the military, and I'm like, oh, they're wearing their uniforms again. But how?
That's a terrible choice, guys. And I know, like in the school in episode 1 and 2, they also like
and their uniforms got smaller, which is even better.
And the nurse, when she's wearing like a long skirt. That,
she
like, her leg, and Busujima, the sword one, goes, "I can fix that," and like rips it all the way up her leg and stuff like that. It's like, you don't need these. How are we gonna get the panty shots if your legs are not open like this?
It has to be.
Right.
Totally
And so yeah, it's really like the first 2 episodes is them getting out of school. It's kind of, you kind of learn what the zombies are all about. They're kind of deaf. They can hear, but they can't see. It's really like you gotta use noise to get around them. Another thing, and then once again, like all zombie logic, you have to hit them in the head. That really is just to set up the logic for them to go out. And so then let's go talk about what happens after that. They get out of the school, and they meet Shido Sensei. Let's talk about him a little bit. Shido Sensei, who is the teacher, who is like...
So Shido Sensei was, as they're escaping, they've planned their escape route out of the school, and they're going to go to this short bus that will be their ultimate escape. And as they're about to close the door, they see a group of teachers and students running across the courtyard. And, you know, of course, if you can save as many people as you want to save, you keep the doors open. But you're quickly introduced to Shido, who is a teacher, and one of the students is behind him, and he trips, and he goes, "Mr. Shido, Sensei, I sprained my ankle." And he goes, "Well, that's it for you." And he, like, curb stomps him, and it's like, there's no room for the weak.
Right. And he's there pretty much starting a cult on the short bus.
Yes.
And he couldn't be more of a creeper. Like, you could clearly tell, and like Ray is making it very clear that this man was like inappropriate with her the whole time. He's been pretty inappropriate with the other girls, and unlike other movies where when the villain's very obvious and people stick around with him, they're like, "Nope, this guy's really weird. I'm getting out of here," and so they do. They literally go, "He's starting a cult. I'm getting off this bus." And so they did, but it seems they got separated. Ray and Komura got separated on the thing, and what I think was a really good moment was the gas station scene. Does anybody want to walk me through that with what happens there? Because
I'm going to let Kevin or John, if they want to jump in on this, talk about the gas station scene. I will just share that that's yet another scene I was sitting next to my wife during, and it went over like a lead balloon. So
I'm before we talk about that, there's 2 things I wanted to talk about. I really liked the the beginning when they're like all like getting together and like, you know, gathering their little group together, and the zombies are just showing up. It was almost like the zombie version of Red Dawn. Like the beginning of like Red Dawn, of like them getting together and be like, all right, we got to get the fuck out of this high school. You know, sorry about that. But anyway, but I also liked the because like you said, those first couple episodes, it was a regular show, and then it takes this really weird turn. But before it takes the turn, the one with the pigtails, the red
Takagi.
She all of a sudden has this like breakdown where like she's like, everything's fine, everything's not fine, and she like she was talking about the blood on her outfit, and she's like, and my mother's gonna have to take it to the cleaners, and then she just like busts out like bawling. because she realizes that's never happening again. Like there's never going to be a cleaners again. Your mother is probably gone. Like, you know, and like, she's like, oh my God, my world has just completely evaporated. And like the cry that she had, like, really hit me. And I was like, all right, so this is really going to be a serious show.
That's the thing. It swings so wildly. I'm like, because when I first started to go, I know what I'm getting into. This is an ecchi harem show with zombies sprinkled into it. I know what I'm getting into. And then, like, as you said, it gets these really tender moments where like Takagi loses her sense of self. They're like trying to get around the Shido. Like 3, 4, 5 were like legit, sincere, good
two moments: gas station moment, and protester moment. Which
we're real good zombie stories. And I brought up the gas station moment for 2 reasons. One was what I like about zombie shows more than I like about the zombiest stuff of it is the people that lose it because of it. Like that the villains of most
humanity
is the people who lose their humanity and are still around as people. And the gas station guy shows up and he wants to take their gas, basically, but also take Ray with him as well.
Right, because he's like, if I'm in this world, I'm going to need a woman in this world with me, so I might as well take her.
And he said, like, I killed everybody in my family. I killed my little sister. I killed my grandma. I killed my mother and father. And so he's like, he's very clearly lost his mind for real reasons.
Yeah.
But the second reason that I thought was really wild is that you see, and this is just going to go back on because we're on very tender stuff, so forgive me for going to come more ridiculous points, but he goes to like grab her and she's fully clothed, full coat to grab her, and they weirdly censor that part of it. Like you can see most of the screen, save for like it looks like snow has formed over.
They did that at least a dozen times,
and I'm like, okay, let me know where the censorship works here because I don't necessarily know what your rules are. Like there's a legit point where a woman puts water in her breast and squirts it like a squirt gun at another woman who's also naked. But this guy grabbing her in the chest, that's too far for us, folks. I was like, what is it? Like, I don't get the censorship in this show either.
Kevin's been in the bathtub trying to squish it together on himself.
So, I mean, just to say, like, just like you guys said, it's like every time you feel a certain way, it then smacks you in the face and goes in the other direction. And that kept me on my toes. And just like John said, it made me more invested in the show. Like, you're like, this is weird and ecchi. Now it's serious. But then we get to episode 6, which we're going to have to do a deep dive on, folks. Then we swing back and go, okay, we're back to where I thought we were.
Yep.
So let's talk about it. Our gang, so to speak, makes it to Nurse Boing Boing's friend's house. And this is a beautiful house. By the way, Nurse Boing Boing's friend is like another sexy, like, police sniper. And she's like, who would not stop unzipping as she was talking. She was like, also I come from the United States, and as I was going, and she just keeps zipping. She's like, let's see how this thing goes. It's like,
very warm again, being in Japan, apparently. It's very warm.
She also, apparently, we found out one problem with being a female sniper is that your breasts get numb from laying on them.
She was very explicit about breast numbness, which...
You had to massage them back to feeling.
Get the feeling back in them.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, and like the coworker, which another Me Too moment, was like, I could rub them for you, make them feel better. And she's like, nah, you're not a good sniper. You can't do it. Like, I was like, what are we doing? What is like you
breasts get
and then
pins and
shoot me
needles?
back out into space.
Do you think boobs get pins and needles?
I'm assuming they do. Like
They have
anything.
I'm hoping they do.
The way they get jostled in this show, someone's does. And so we get to their apartment, and we just have to go through this, right? So what happens with the girls? They finally get a sense of relief. Guys, talk me through this. Kevin, John, Garrett, just jump in. Let's talk into what happens here. What are some things that stuck out you with episode 6?
It's literally like they just all went to the bathroom together and showered and like just got naked together, and we're like, it was like I swear it was like bizarre. I was like, what is going on? Like, why are they doing this? Like,
there is a comfort that they have with one another bodies that is not an American concept.
No.
But the problem is though that like the nurse was with them all,
right?
And these are like high school kids with the adult nurse, and she's dumb as hell. Like she's completely dumb. and
And
like,
they're, like,
it's like
diving on her.
I think that, and
It was
not that this makes it right, but I think a lot of times, if there's a relationship that might be inappropriate, like age-wise, by making the older person in that relationship a female, it becomes less offensive than if it were like an older male.
Like if Shino Sensei was in there going,
and I'm not saying that that's true,
right?
but that's certainly how it's portrayed.
It's
but
how they're
also,
portrayed.
like, I know they keep calling her doctor, but for all we know, these kids are 17, 18, and she's like 23 years old, just out of college or something.
Right.
I can't really tell you much about this episode, about what happens after the showers, because I was cleaning up.
Oh really? Oh really? There, Kevin. You don't say.
Oh, my house. I was straightening up my house. No. I mean, it was just total chaos. It seemed like they were like drugged at a certain point.
Yeah. Well,
And they couldn't say drunk.
They were
We can have
talking
breasts jiggling intermittently, but we can't say drunk at all in the show.
So here's how I took it, Kevin.
Right.
Imagine like you are exhausted
Mhm.
because this is the first day of the apocalypse. Your adrenaline has been up and down all day, and this might be your last shower for months because electricity is going to go out, and everyone just gets loopy because they're drained. They get stupid tired.
But it was like maybe, I guess that was it. But it was like they were goofy with each other, and then like they get out of the tub, and they're like falling, and then they're like,
And they all want to do Kimura.
and then they're going to sleep, and then they're grabbing his junk, and like
The nurse Boing grabbed his ding dong.
Yes.
it's just a little kid,
Ding ding.
and it's like, but you're 23 or 35 or whatever the hell you are, like jiggling this junk, and then like one of the other girls is like, oh my god, your breasts are so huge, she like jumps at them and like starts shaking them like they can't be
Right.
Like you have to prove that they exist. Like they can't be this big. Let's shake them until they get.
like I said, they can't be of this earth, like it's
But apparently, while they might be the world's largest breasts, they have the world's smallest nipples because that's what makes it offensive. So at no point do you see the nip.
no, we saw her nips.
No.
I don't remember seeing any nipples in this show.
Oh, I saw them. Maybe I
have to review episode 6 again.
definitely.
Kevin,
Just to kind of give you guys. Sorry, Garrett. Go ahead. Finish your point.
Kevin paused his like screen and there's like dry erase nipples drawn on like the laptop.
So let me get some clarity for everybody out here. There's several points of order that I think I have to explain to people. The first thing is that bathing in Japan does have a communal aspect to it. I have done that before in when I was working there. It was
with high school, not with high school girls, right?
I wish, but no, it wasn't. It was me and all the old dudes that worked at the park that I worked at, and it's basically you have to. There's like a little stool you sit on. So when you saw Takagi, she's like scrubbing her hair. You do that first. That's you actually bathing. Like you basically shower first, and then you get into a large. Basically, it's called an ofudo, which means like a big tub, almost like a jacuzzi, but doesn't bubble. And you basically sit there and kind of just like relax and like get the day off of you. But people, if you're women, it's okay to be like, hey, can I wash your back for you? Do you have a spot that you want me to get for you? Like they're very open with doing that with each other.
Here's another cultural thing to drop on Kevin and John, because my wife spent 6 months living in Japan in her early 20s. Is you use the same bath water.
Yeah, you do.
Go on.
you use the same bath water.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're actually washing before you get into the bath, and it goes by order of seniority. So always the first is the father of the family.
Mm-hmm.
He gets to go first, and the last is after all the kids and after the guests is going to be mom.
Right. And another thing that I wanted to make sure got clear as well is people have asked me before, why is it that panties are a very specific thing in Japanese culture? And I remember reading an article that I wanted to make very clear for us here. So what we need, the reason why there's such a kind of a weird fascination with panties is actually because of Americans. So what happens is that back in the day, Japanese women did not wear underwear at all. Like they wore heavy kimonos, large, a large amount of clothes. So like the idea of bras and underwear was not a thing. It wasn't until the United States came into Japan after World War II and started buying up all the courtesans and the prostitutes of the era. And in order to kind of make them feel comfortable, all the courtesans started wearing, the European style underwear that they wore. So now Japan, because of the United States invading their country, women now, the idea of sexy women got associated with having panties. And so it's become this over-sexualized thing in the country, and I just thought that was a really fascinating thing that came out of it.
So that's why there's panty vending machines?
That's why there's panty vending machines. That's why there's all this stuff, and why we go, it's just
wait.
Yeah.
There's panty vending machines?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, John. Used panty vending machines.
With pictures of the woman on the package.
Get out of here. Wow.
Yep.
Orange is the new black.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're gonna add,
from that. Yeah, that's right. They did that.
Now,
oh my God.
So by the way, before we go, just so people know, on our list currently of WTF ecchi moments is girl getting eaten with her panties showing, and the second one is shower teeth fight. And so that's currently on our list, and we're going to rank those at the end of the episode. Go on, Kevin.
Kyle, didn't you? I listened to your show, and you've said before that there are always scenes where like the girl and the guy like get together and they're like hanging out, and she's like, I'm gonna go take a shower, or I'm gonna go take a bath, or whatever, and like the guy is like supposed to like sneak a peek. And the fat guy is like, are you going to sneak a peek because we're supposed to? And I was like, holy shit, he's like telling us, he's like,
yeah, it's such a cliche that it's expected in anime for guys to try to do it, and then they usually get beaten up in the process.
Which is why I love when Kimura's response to that is I'm not ready to die.
Yeah, basically. And what I also found interesting about this scene was that like the women are doing their thing. They're squirting water at each other. They're doing all this stuff. And like the men are on the side like discussing strategy and guns and supplies. It was just really like off-putting to me to be like to have like no, not even the teacher was in the room. Nurse Boing was too busy squeezing her breasts together to really worry about strategizing. And by the time like the most apt person in the show, Busujima, gets involved, she's like, I'm doing laundry, so I'm going to be completely nude and wear an apron and make soup for everybody. And I'm just like, okay, guys, let's just maybe involve them a little bit in the conversation.
I think Miss Busujima was doing everything she was supposed to be doing.
Garrett's. I know. I'm going to ask this over the course of our series. Is she on the top of your waifu list? And it seems like Busujima is on the top of your waifu list.
Oh, definitely.
And the bottom.
So yeah, we can move on from episode 6. We get to episode 7, which is what I call the motorcycles are metal scene. And they're basically there to just kind of show like all like I remember it was like, are you ready to go? And like Kimura's like, I got this. And then backwards like, and it was just a lot of that because they saved the little girl eventually. Who's is Alice. Her name's Alice Marisato. So she gets saved. And so then we get to episode 8, which is where we all end. On the series is they make a wrong turn. They took a wrong left at Albuquerque, and they ended up going full speed into a barrier wall with their Humvee. And they can't leave, and now they're surrounded. John, you alluded to what happened. Kevin alluded. I want us to talk through the events of what happened in this scene of them fighting their way out. Someone paint the scene for me.
First and foremost, when they're driving the Humvee down the road and they are stopped by the wire fence across the road, and it's sort of like a sunken highway, so there's walls around you.
Yeah.
You could have fit through the fence. You could have just crawled through the fence.
Like, oh my god, these wide gaps. However, will I get
How
through
will
them?
I ever get through?
Paint the picture for us. Yes, so Garrett started. We're stuck. Our Humvee is stuck on this wire, which for some reason is highly porous, but we can't get through.
Right. So they're stuck on this highway, and they start trying to take people out. Ammunition is getting low. Energy's getting low. You're starting to feel really trapped, really beaten, and this is it. This is the culmination of this chase, and you've finally gotten yourself into a corner that you might not get yourself out of. So Kimura, in classic protagonist, boring to Kyle role, decides to take my girl Sayako, Miss Busujima, and they're going to try and draw away the attention. So they have to run through this highway making as much noise as they possibly can while under cover of Hirano, who is the fat dorkly sniper, and a few of the others, which, by the way, while Takagi and Nurse Boing Boing sit in the Hummer and do absolutely nothing. I mean, useless.
Nobody helps. Nobody helps. No one helps.
I mean, the whole reason they ran off was because Zero couldn't do it alone.
No.
Yeah. And so this is where we find out about physics that we didn't know existed.
About ballistics, fluid dynamics. We learn about velocity. All this stuff. And can someone talk me through it?
So while they're battling, and Ray Miyamoto, who is, again, she is kind of in love with Kimura now that they've spent some time together, and she has a gun that she's absolutely useless with. And Kimura is like, this is the end. I'm going to give you a hug. And he goes to embrace her in this solemn moment of, we're going to die together, and, I'm glad I'm with you. And then he feels the gun strapped to her, and instead of unclicking the carabiner, he's like, well, the only way I can shoot this gun is if I use you as a tripod in the prone shooting.
It's so true.
And she looks flustered by this whole thing, which, to her credit, she should be. On the ground, the gentleman Kimura has the gun. Help me out, guys. Let's draw
across her collarbone.
She basically got thrown off the car. She's dead, basically, and he's shooting this gun off of her body, and then he's shooting bullets into the zombie. The girl with the wooden katana is dodging these bullets with her breasts and panties.
She's between Wanted and The Matrix.
Yeah, right. Let's think about.
I was how? I was wow. I was how is this happening? So I was bullets flying, boom!
Yeah, go, boom! So by the way, she is orgasming, kind of.
Are going to go up and down at the same time.
Yes.
And in between my breasts is going to fly the bullet. And in between my crotch is going to fly the bullet. I'm like...
And by the way, speaking of the human tripod, Ray Miyamoto, she's having a gun shot in her face. What is her hearing going to be like?
That was the whole thing I was thinking of the entire time. I was like, oh my God, she's going to be deaf.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's every shot is an orgasm. It's not like she's screaming. She's like, and her breasts. Weirdly enough, we get a slow motion ballistics. How fluid dynamics work. Her breasts literally ripple. They're like,
oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a perfect like you said, a perfect ripple. I was
and it was slow motion. So more attention was brought to. By the way, more attention was brought to Busujima's panties and her breasts doing this matrix motion, and Ray's breasts that do if the bullets actually hit the zombies.
Did you ever?
Because I don't know if it actually worked. I don't know who he hit. I don't know if there was any damage done. All I know is that at least the breasts were jiggling throughout this scene. I was like, what is happening right now?
Did you ever?
Because he was like, I can't hit him. And with the tripod, I don't know if he was successful. What are you doing, man?
Did you ever play with army men when you were a kid?
Of course. Yeah.
All right. Remember the one that was sprawled out on the ground?
Yeah.
With the rifle and the elbow out.
Yeah.
Like that, and there's that hole in between his elbow and his chest or whatever. That's where the breasts were.
Now you got to go find Barbie and put her in that hole.
Yes.
That's funny. That's all I thought about the whole time was that and the deafness.
And she was going to be probably deaf. She was creaming her pants out the process. And then another thing that, like, just about Ray and just, like, my problem with her was, just to go back into episode 6, was they really... I thought I was actually going to watch porn at some point at the end of episode 6 because she gets right in his grill on the stairs and she's full-on, like, Doomy mode. But, like, they get next to each other and for, I'm going to say good solid 25 seconds, they're just looking at each other going... I'm like, is this how sex works there? Like, what's happening here? And then he goes, we can't do this. If you go any further, it will stand up. I was like, come on, man. Like, what? I'm like, I literally thought at that moment, I was like, I'm legit going to watch hentai. I'm legit going to watch porn at this moment. And I just told my friends and my podcast partner to watch porn. That wasn't the intent of this show. That's what I legit thought for this part. So, yeah.
Dude, you know what I found weird? There was, like, one scene where, the nerdy kid was talking to the other guy about, like, you gotta, like, aim the gun, you gotta shoot the gun, you know, and then he kept flashing to, like, the chicks.
Yep.
And like, so this one particular, I forget which one it was, and it was all just, like, close-up shots of her breasts and her panties, and I'm like, like, this guy's trying to teach him how to shoot guns, and you're going to this, and they go back and forth, and I'm like...
The prominent role that breasts play in this episode, just even, like, in non-sexual moments where the girl leans over to talk to him and they're just like, whoop, whoop.
And they just
you know, they make the noise.
Like, seriously, like, they are other characters in this show, are the breasts. It's like, I'm mad at you, but the breast, like, hits her in the chin first before they go down. Or, like, you know, Nurse Boing, she's, like, getting nervous and she bears down, so there the breasts get really droopy and ready for the bracelet for impact. Like, the boob physics in this show, A, are unnatural, as we all know. B, are unnecessary. You know, I'm a guy. I'm a full hot-blooded guy. But some of the times I'm getting to, like, the idea of, like, this is too much. I don't know.
Okay. I challenge that. This is... I'm like 18 episodes. I'm 18 shows or 18 episodes into our podcast journey. Obviously, you know, Kevin and John don't watch a ton of anime outside of this. However... within the world of Ecchi, is this that bad, or is this sort of par for the course, Kyle?
I would say two things get in the way of me saying this is par for the course for Ecchi. The first thing is that Ecchi usually has some sort of, like, unintentional nudity, and it seems like the women all make choices that are intended for them to be naked. You get what I'm saying? Like, Ecchi, a lot of times, if clothes comes off, it's because a gust of wind came by, or a crow came by and snatched off your bra straps.
And that makes it more innocent.
It makes it innocent, right? But this is like, just like what we talk about with the clothes, it's like, Takagi is a smart girl. She's wearing glasses. She's clearly, like, a very intelligent girl. Granted, she's going through some stuff. But she's like, I'm going to wear the real, like, when I'm talking underwear, I want my underwear to be just, like, enough for a headband. And that's going to be enough for me. Like, the choices they make are intentional. So that makes me think that, like, it kind of goes past the idea of Ecchi. Also, as terms of boob physics, this is well beyond anything I watch, usually. Like, the panty shots, that's pretty common. But the breasts, in particular, being
have a life of their own.
Exactly. It's as if they're puppets. Like, someone has marionette strings and they're just like, hi there, this is me, Mr. Lefty, and I'm Mr. Righty. That.
Jeff Dunham is underneath.
Yeah.
Like,
the anime that I've watched because of listening to you guys, it seems like the fan service is, like, peppered in, where this is just, like, the whole show.
This is the cake. It's not, like, baked in. It's the cake.
It's every shot. Like, every other shot is just, like, boob or ass or...
Also, the association with violence kind of turns me off a little bit. Like, the association with violence is with the sex is something I'm like, you know, it doesn't.
I would enjoy the show without the sex. I really would, because
I think I think it has good service.
I mean, so would I. I just enjoy it more with it.
I'm not saying don't put it in. I'm saying I know that it's like it fills a niche. I'm just saying this does go a little farther than what I'm used to with Ecchi, and that's fine. It's a thing, you know. So, but go ahead, John. Finish your.
But basically, I enjoy the show. I like the whole zombie thing. I like what they're doing. But I think it's just too much.
Sometimes, yeah.
You know, it's way and listen, listen. I like my panty shots. You know, I watch all my porn and all that shit. You know, but I'll tell you right now, like if I'm watching a show and it seems forced, it almost seems forced, and it's too much, and I'm just like, all right, back off a little bit, you know, because it's like they're jamming it down your throat, where it's like this is like panties, boobs.
When
panties,
really
boobs,
you want to
panties.
jam it down their throat.
Well, yeah, yeah. But that's the way I look at it, because I think they have a good story.
Yeah,
you know, they got a good story going, and then it's just like.
By the way, Kyle, you were like the anti-demographic of American men because you just said, I don't like it when they mix the sex and the violence, which the number one thing studio executives do is they go, how can I mix the sex and the violence?
It's like Michael Bay's playbook right there, you know? It's like, how do we make explosions with...
Yes, this is if Michael Bay did an anime.
I think so, too.
They just needed a few more turns where they were
they were spinning the Bad Boys for Life style. Your camera rotate up. It's like John Woo in the Pigeon.
It's not like the sex is violent. It's the violence is around them, and it's what almost it's like what trauma does to you. Like it makes sex more important. Like now because you're trying to hold on to humanity, or you're trying to forget the shit that's going on around you, or you know, you're like, oh, this might be the last time I could ever do it, whatever, and or your inhibitions are gone because you're like, fuck it, we might die, you know. So I think that's why it's so prevalent in this show.
So this culminates into, now we're going to kind of stick with the ecchi a little bit more because that's what this show does. And I'm going to list off the 3 different scenes that were particularly noticeable in terms of ecchi fan service moments. And we're going to do what's called a tier list. Now, tier lists are essentially A, B, C, D, E rankings. And S is like top tier. This represents this thing. You're going to tell me what you would rank this in that format. So like how you would grade a paper, but S is like an A+. So... what would you rate? So let's start with the yellow panties scene where a girl is like, I'm good with my friend, haha, and then her friend like kicks her in the face, and then she gets eaten, but her panties are showing. What grade would you give that? Where would you put it on your tier list? And let's see if we can get a good average. Let's start with John. Where would you rate it? If you're almost like grading a paper, if it's the most ecchi thing you've ever seen.
I don't know. I would say I would give it a B.
Yeah,
I would give it a B.
Kevin, where would you put it on the tier list?
You know, seeing everything else that has happened in this show, it's a hell of a lot more tame than everything else I've seen. So yeah, I'm gonna even give it a lower grade than that. It's a C.
Right.
I'm totally with Kevin. It's a C. It's gratuitous, but it ain't anything.
It ain't.
Because now we're going on to the next one, which might be a little higher in your scores. I call this the apartment tick fight in episode 6. Just the whole thing. What would you guys rate that in terms of etchiness and ridiculous fan service?
Now you said
reverse order. Let's start with Kevin. Let's start with Kevin this time. What would you rate this on the tier list?
The highest?
Yeah, you give it.
No. I'm saying what is the highest?
S. Below that's A, B, C, and the
S is definitely it's definitely an S.
You think this is S class?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just S, it's
Would you concur there, John? Do you think this is the top tier?
That's a T. I'm gonna go one above S.
Wrapping around the alphabet.
I was going through the alphabet in my head. That's an S and a T. That episode was off the charts, man. And it was just like, I was like, what is going on? I was like, I'm watching. I'm like, this is like porn without porn. I'm like, this is like, it was like wild. But I have a problem with this though.
Yeah.
These are like high school kids, and it bothers me that I really have that moral thing in myself where I'm like, I shouldn't like this. You know what I mean? And it bothers me that this is like.
So Kyle and I talk about every week, can we please get out of high school?
Right.
Can we please get out of high school? But you know what's kind of weird to me? Even though the effing show is called High School of the Dead, and even though they're high school students, to me this is like the least high school.
Right, that's the weirdest thing. High school in the first episode. But it's true, and I understand what you're saying, John. Like, they have this thing with age, which is weird to us because, and I say this a lot of times, like, in the United States, we like to take, and this is weird, we take younger women and try to make them look older as they sexualize them. You know, the jailbaity, you know, Britney Spearses of the world, that kind of stuff. They do the opposite there. They like to take older women and make them look younger for the sake of objectifying them. And so the idea of the high schoolness, but they're still in like older women's bodies, is a general motif you're going to find in Japan, just by virtue of how culture works there. It's just one of those things that, like, I agree with you. Like, it's tough to hear and think instinctively about the age, but then look at them and go, "There's no way that's not a woman. Like, that's not a straight 18-plus-year-old woman." So,
it's a loophole on how they get away with it,
right? And that's how it's once again the culture thing. And the last thing we're going to go on the tier list is the sniper scene. We're talking tripod, included with Busujima's ability to evade bullets. What would you, gentlemen? Garrett, we're going to start with you this time. What would you give it in terms of classification?
In any other show, this would be an S.
Right.
But if we're discussing within the confines of this show, it still somehow becomes a second place A after the shower scene, because really, can you get more ecchi than a shower scene?
Right.
I mean, it was impressive alone for the animation that had to go into the jiggles. But it's an A.
Garrett, that was honestly the scene when I was introducing the show to you, was the scene I showed you. I go, "Garrett, this is High School of the Dead." And you're like, "We're watching this." You're in the mid-20s, so it's a little bit different. John, what would you give this in terms of...
I'm going to agree. It's an A.
Okay, cool.
It's not an S or a T, you know, because it's an A. It's definitely an A because it was
in the basis of this show, it's deeper than most things.
Ridiculously entertaining, you know, and it's not the jiggles from the gunshots. It's how this girl with the friggin' like wooden katana is like avoiding these bullets.
Right, and
like,
if I can hop back in there, John,
it's like how like she's like breast up, breast down, bullet flies through, breast up, breast down, bullet flies through. I'm gonna do a backflip, bullet flies literally in between my crotch, and I'm just like,
right. But back to what Kyle said about censorship and not understanding. We're being subjective to Matrix breasts, okay?
Right.
But yet, when they did the bullet panty shot, they censored it by making it look like a dude's arm blocked the camera and like created a shadow. Yeah. Why even animate this if you're gonna
censor it?
Do that?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So, Kevin, let's round us out. What did you give that one in terms of its tier list?
Again, I'm gonna give it an A, but it's funny because the bathtub scene, the bathroom scene, that's kind of been done, you know, but it was just so over the top.
Right.
This was much more creative.
Right.
You know, but in terms of etchiness, I'm gonna have to give it an A.
In the comparison,
it was so much more creative.
Right. So here's the two questions I ask Garrett all the time. The first one is, would you keep watching? And this is just a simple yes or no with the panel. Garrett, are you going to keep watching High School of the Dead?
I'm going to watch the final 4 episodes, and then I'm going to write a strongly worded letter requesting that more seasons be produced.
John, would you keep watching the show?
Yes, I like it. I enjoy it. I love the zombie apocalypse stuff. And to go on, I watched the live action gambling show that we talked about the first time.
Right.
I watched both seasons.
John, I'm proud of you, man. Every time we do this, I get more impressed by you.
I swear to God,
you're S-tier co-host on this one here.
I absolutely loved it.
I'm glad you do, man.
You know what's funny? It's like I had to complete it. It was like I started it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna complete this.
I gotta finish this sucker. Yeah. Kevin, what do you say, man?
I am definitely going to finish this show, and I am also going to write a strongly worded letter. But mine is going to be that I demand they make this one in live action.
Yeah! You would think. They did so here's the thing. They did a live action on the gambling show. They did a live action on an octopus that you're trying to shoot in class, and one where your hand is an alien. But they couldn't do the zombie show with hot women. Like, how does that work? I mean, I don't know.
Gotta do it.
Got to do it. I agree. Let's do a thing to make a live action version of it. The last thing we're going to do is a Weeb and Noob score for the panel as well as us. Once again, for those who haven't watched this before, the Weeb score is essentially Weeb and Noob score. Not signifies if it's good or bad because we all kind of really like this show. It really signifies how soon should you watch it based on when you listen to this podcast. Is it something, like a 10 or is 1 to 10 basically? The higher the number means go out, watch it, do it. It's important. It's a great show. Do it now. A lower score means, there's other shows that can fit this bill. You can put this one away for a little bit. It's really hard to watch, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. I want to give this show, I don't know, Garrett. I want to give it a high score because how people enjoyed it. All right, I'll just do it. I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9. Ooh. Garrett, your face gestures made me change my mind. I think it actually really serves as a zombie story. I would say that alone, if it was all service level, I would say it would be just another harem anime I watch every other day. Like this one,
but it has those moments where it dips in and gives you something a little juicier that isn't overt sexuality, and you're like, oh wow, this is.
And then once it gets too heavy, it gets ridiculous again, and it kind of makes you swing back and forth between it. And I know what they're going for, so
it certainly does, Kyle. It certainly does.
Garrett, what did you give it as your noob score?
I'm with you. I'm giving it a 9, and the only reason why it's not a 10 is because it doesn't. Unlike other shows, I don't think it has, cultural importance. I think, 20 years from now, it'll just be, it won't be one of the all-time greats that people say you have to go back and watch, if only because of longevity. There's only 12 episodes.
Right.
But, yeah, sure. A firm nosebleed-esque 9.
Quickly, John and Kevin, what would you give as your scores? Kevin, we'll start with you.
10.
Oh, we got a
wow!
Go out, watch this show immediately. It's awesome.
Okay.
I mean, think of how popular The Walking Dead is. It's nuts. It's nuts. It's entertaining. It's dramatic. It's comedy. It's all that. And Garrett, I believe it is culturally important right now.
Yeah. Okay.
The watching this show, the minute they said the word pandemic, it didn't even hit me, and I was like, wow. I was like, this is exactly what's happening right now. The things that they point out, oh, well, this would break down, and I'm like, oh, that's happening right now.
Well, and then how about we talked about poignant moments, and Kyle said, what was the one that you pointed out was the gas station scene?
Oh, yeah.
The other one that was really heavy was there's a group of protesters that believe it's a hoax from the military and the Americans, and the police officer shoots the protester in the head. But think about in the current pandemic, how people believe this is a hoax. I mean, there were so many parallels.
Mm-hmm. That it's actually relevant.
Yeah.
John, what is your noob score?
Yeah, this is, I'm going to say it's 8.5.
Oh, man, you guys are blowing my mind with these scores. Go ahead, John.
Wow.
I really enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I love the zombie apocalypse stuff. Like Walking Dead is starting tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's the season finale tonight. And the new season of Walking Dead Beyond or whatever the hell it's called is starting tonight. So I'm totally into the whole zombie apocalypse thing.
Do you guys think it's there's any correlation the fact that the scores that we gave actually matched our penis sizes? That was...
Oh, is there a 13?
John, I've seen it. Let's not.
Hey, come on now.
We're talking
at best, you're like a New Balance 8 wide.
No, but seriously, 8.5, 9, man, because it's a fun watch, man.
Great.
It really is. I love it.
Well, as always, I think it's great that we get to have our friends on to talk about really ridiculous things. Anytime we see something absolutely that just hits these ridiculous things, we're gonna have you, John and Kevin on to talk about it because it's just always a fun time. And thank you for keeping your swears to kind of a minimum. So
we didn't have too many. We
didn't. I'm not gonna have too much editing.
Actually, John, I think it's 8-1 Kevin to you on this one.
I think let like 3 or 4 slip.
So my letter's not to Japan, but to Kevin.
Yeah, I did all right.
Yeah, you did great, John. And once again, I think we'll have to invite you guys back on to do another ridiculous show with us.
Yeah. Give me something to watch, man. Give me a new one to watch, and I'm totally gonna do it.
That's great. And as always, it's just as important to hear your thoughts. Was High School of the Dead one of those shows that just kind of really turned you off with all of its etchiness? Or did it make you just so excited to see what the zombie genre could be? Or is it something that you just have to kind of watch by yourself and enjoy as like a secret pleasure? Please let us know in the comments below because we want to keep the conversation going. Also follow us on anchor.fm/Wanwa Podcast if you want to hear more, as well as follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. You can also check out John and Kevin's show, John and Kevin's Big Stupid Podcast, at, Kevin, give us the address.
Big Super Podcast, or that's on Instagram and Facebook, and on Twitter it's Big Super Podcast. But on Twitter, John,
there's no I in stupid.
Or give us a call at our Big Stupid hotline, which is 201-338-0098.
Awesome, check them out because they're a lot of fun to listen to. But before we go, Garrett, do we have any last minute thoughts about the show? Which I know there are many.
They say that you can judge a person by the company that they keep, and by that logic, Komuro Takashi is an absolute genius and a god amongst men.
Now I'm ready to boil up a pot of stew in my naked apron. Garrett's going to go off and find himself a female tripod, and we're going to wish you all have a great next week.
See you later.